Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be diving deep into something really interesting to me. We've got notes here from the first lesson of a course called Spiritual Psychology for Parents. And already I'm like, whoa, ancient wisdom and modern psychology all rolled into one. I'm kind of hooked. Have you ever thought about parenting as a spiritual retreat?
When I first heard that, I was like, wait, what? A retreat. But Dr. Whiteley, she really got me thinking about it in a different way. Even the word psychology comes from psyche, right?
The Greek word for soul. Yeah.
Yeah. And isn't it weird how traditional psychology focuses so much on the mind and behavior? Like we've kind of forgotten about the soul part.
Totally. It's like we lost the root of the word itself. But spiritual psychology is like trying to bridge that gap. It's like, hey, there's more to us than just thoughts and actions.
Exactly. There's this life force within us, that
Yeah.
energy that drives us. And you can't always explain it with logic or analysis.
Hmm.
And Dr. Ia Whiteley, she called it parenthood as a spiritual retreat.
Okay, I have to admit, when I heard that, I was like, am I on the wrong retreat? Because I'm definitely not feeling very peaceful right now. More like knee-deep in Legos and laundry.
Huh, I get it. But that's kind of the point. We don't need to escape to a mountaintop to find that retreat feeling. It's already here, right in the thick of it, the everyday stuff of being a parent.
So we're already on the retreat, just haven't realized it. That's a pretty big mind shift. But how do we actually see it that way? When we're exhausted and the kids are losing it.
That's where it gets interesting. Instead of seeing those tough moments as obstacles, we can see them as chances to grow. Like each tantrum, each bedtime battle, it's all a chance to tap into something deeper, more patience, more wisdom, more ourselves.
So it's like those moments that usually make us want to run for the hills are actually chances to become more.
And spiritually fit.
Yes, and Dr. Whiteley really emphasized that it's not about being perfect, but about being present. It's like noticing those moments,
Mm.
even the hard ones, and seeing them as chances to connect, with ourselves, A&D with our kids. Okay, that's a really different way of looking at things. I can kind of see how that could be transformative. But how does this spiritual psychology thing deal with all the pressures of parenting today? I mean, there's so much information overload, so many expectations. It's hard to even know what to do sometimes.
That's where the ancient wisdom comes in. Dr. Whiteley talked about how those traditions offer tools to handle those pressures, to help us reconnect with what really matters. And one big thing for me was this idea of managing our attention.
Managing our attention. Break that down for me. What does that even look like when you're a parent?
Well, think about it, right? We're constantly bombarded with stuff. Our phones, social media, emails, the never-ending mental to-do list. And it's like all that mental noise makes it hard to really be with our kids.
Oh, tell me about it. I'm a pro at multitasking these days. Making dinner, answering emails, breaking up fights, all while scrolling through Instagram. It's a talent, really.
Yeah, right. But the thing is, when our attention is all over the place, we miss those moments of connection. We react instead of responding. We get lost in the chaos instead of finding that inner calm.
That makes sense. But how do we actually manage our attention? I mean, it feels like the world is designed to distract us.
Dr. Whiteley was saying it's about starting small. It's not about suddenly becoming some meditation master. It's about those tiny pockets of time throughout the day to just be. Maybe it's taking a few deep breaths before answering your kid, or putting your phone away at dinner and actually talking, or even just noticing the feeling of your kid's hand in yours when you walk them to school.
These are good, simple ideas. I can actually picture myself doing that. It's choosing presence over distraction, right?
Exactly. And Dr. Whiteley actually said that just watching how curious and enthusiastic kids are can remind us of our own life force.
That's really interesting. Kids are so good at living in the moment. Right. No overthinking, no worries about the future, just pure joy and curiosity.
Totally. And when we can tap into that a little bit, that's when the magic of this whole spiritual retreat thing really starts to happen. It's like rediscovering that joy and wonder in everyday parenting.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. So many ideas swirling around.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one thing to take away from this first lesson, what would it be?
I think the biggest thing is this. The challenges we face as parents, those moments that push our buttons, they're not meant to break us. They're actually chances to tap into a deeper well of ourselves. More patience, more wisdom, more love. It's seeing those hard moments not as obstacles, but as chances to grow.
I love that.
Yeah.
So Instead of dreading those meltdowns and power struggles, I can choose to see them as chances to practice my inner spiritual ninja skills.
Uh-huh, exactly. And remember, you already have all the tools you need. Dr. Whiteley kept saying that. It's about learning to use them so we can be our best for our kids.
That's a powerful thought.
It is, isn't it?
So we've covered a lot here. The meaning of psychology, this parenthood as a spiritual retreat idea, all those pressures of modern life, and tapping into our life force.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
It really is. But here's what I keep coming back to. Dr. Whiteley said that each of us has this perfect inner source of wisdom. If that's true, how do we as parents find that source and, nurture it? And how would that change things with our kids?
That is the question, isn't it?
It is, and I bet we'll be figuring that out all throughout this deep dive. But for now, I want to leave you with that question to think about. Maybe this is the start of your own journey into spiritual psychology and parenting.
You know, before this class, I kind of thought ancient wisdom was just something from the history books, not really relevant to my life as a parent. But Dr. Whiteley made this point about how modern society kind of disconnects us from our inner knowing.
Okay, I'm listening. Designed to disconnect us. What does that mean?
Well, think about it. We're just bombarded with information constantly, right? News, social media, ads, it never stops. And we're always being told what to buy, how to look, how to parent. There's just this constant pressure to be like everyone else.
And don't forget about, documenting every single milestone on social media.
Exactly. It's like we're so busy keeping up with the Joneses or their Instagram profiles that we forget to listen to our own inner voice, that gut feeling that tells us what's actually right for us and our families.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's so easy to get caught up in all the noise and forget to trust our own intuition. So how do these ancient wisdom traditions, help us with all that?
Well, Dr. Whiteley talked about things like mindfulness and meditation.
Okay, see, those words always make me think of, complicated rituals and hours of sitting in silence, which is just not happening with my schedule. Is there any way to actually do that as a busy parent?
That's the cool part. It doesn't have to be this big, complicated thing, Dr. Whiteley said, that even just a few minutes of, focusing on your breath or paying attention to how your body feels can make a difference. It's about finding those little pauses throughout the day to just reconnect with yourself.
Okay, that sounds doable.
Mm.
I can definitely manage a few deep breaths here and there.
Yeah.
But how do we know if we're actually tapping into that inner knowing, or if it's just me wanting a second piece of cake?
That's a great question. It's definitely a different feeling, right? It's not just about what you want in this moment, but what feels right for you in the long run. It's kind of like building a muscle. The more you practice tuning in, the easier it gets to tell the difference.
So it's about becoming more, aware of our choices, more conscious about what we're doing.
Exactly. And that includes how we're parenting, too. When we're disconnected from ourselves, it's hard to really connect with our kids. We end up just reacting instead of responding in a way that's, thoughtful and present.
Yeah, that's so true. When I'm stressed out, I can totally see how it affects how I am with my kids. I get impatient and snappy so easily.
Right. Kids are like little sponges. They pick up on everything we're feeling. And if we're constantly running on empty, well, they're going to feel that too.
It's like a dance.
Yeah.
Right. We're leading, and they're following. If we're all frantic and stressed, well, they're going to be too. But if we can find that calm within ourselves, it changes the whole thing.
Exactly. It's like we're showing them a different way to be in the world. We're teaching them that it's okay to slow down, to breathe, to listen to that quiet voice inside.
What a gift to give our kids, right?
And it's a gift that keeps on giving. It affects everything, not just our relationship with our kids, but our relationships with everyone.
Wow, this is getting deep. But how do we actually do this? How do we bring these ideas into our everyday lives with kids running around and laundry piling up? Where do we even start?
Dr. Whiteley talked about creating little rituals throughout the day, moments where you just pause, connect with yourself, and really be in the moment.
Okay, I love practical tips. Give me some examples. What kind of rituals are we talking about?
It can be anything, really. Maybe it's 5 minutes of cuddling with your kid before bed, where you just focus on their breathing and how it feels to hold them. Or a family walk in nature where everyone pays attention to what they see and hear and smell. It could even be as simple as taking a moment to really appreciate your kid's laugh or the way the sunlight looks in your kitchen.
I love those ideas.
Yeah.
Simple, but so powerful. It's like making space for intention in all the chaos.
Exactly. It's not about adding more things to your to-do list. It's about shifting your focus,
Yeah.
Finding those moments to savor and connect with what really matters.
So Dr. Whiteley said something about kids being naturally spiritual beings. What do you think about that?
I think she's onto something. Kids haven't learned to be cynical or doubt themselves yet. They just like approach life with this sense of wonder and pure joy. They haven't forgotten how to be present and tap into that life force we were talking about.
It's like they're constantly reminding us what's important, right? Showing us how to play, how to laugh, how to appreciate the little things, like a ladybug crawling on a leaf.
Exactly. And when we can tap into that energy too, that's when parenting becomes less about managing our kids and more about like sharing this amazing experience of life together.
I'm feeling inspired. This is like a whole new way of looking at things.
That's the beauty of it, right? It's not about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about being open, willing to learn and grow, and just appreciating this crazy, beautiful miracle of life.
You know what? I think Dr. Whiteley is right. Parenting really can be a spiritual retreat if we choose to see it that way. It's about finding that sacred space in the everyday.
Yeah. And the best part is, we get to do it with the most amazing guides ever, our kids.
They really are our greatest teachers, even when they're driving us up the wall.
Absolutely. Especially when they're driving us up the wall. Those are the moments where we really get to practice what we're learning.
So what was your biggest aha moment from this first lesson? What really stuck with you?
Ooh, that's a tough one. There were so many. But I think one of the things that really hit home for me was Dr. Whiteley talking about self-compassion. She said, you can't pour from an empty cup, you know? We have to take care of ourselves if we want to be there for our kids.
Wait, are you saying it's not selfish to put our own needs first sometimes? That's like a revolutionary idea for parents.
I know, right? We're so used to thinking that self-care is a luxury, something we can only do if everything else is done. But Dr. Whiteley explained that when we don't take care of ourselves, it actually hurts our whole family.
Hmm.
You know, we get burned out and resentful, and we just don't have as much to give.
That makes sense. Our kids are so tuned into us. If we're running on fumes, they're going to feel it too.
Exactly. So self-care isn't just about bubble baths and spa days, although those are great too. It's about finding a way to, like, nourish ourselves so we can nourish our kids.
Okay, I get it. It's not a zero-sum game. Our well-being is connected to theirs. But how do we actually do that? How do we make sure we're taking care of ourselves so we can be the best parents we can be?
That's a great question, and I think it's something we'll keep coming back to throughout this whole deep dive. But maybe for now we can just leave our listeners with that question to think about. It's a journey, not a destination.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And remember, we're all in this together. We're all figuring this parenting thing out as we go.
You know, one thing I'm realizing is this spiritual psychology thing.
Hmm.
It's not about adding more to my to-do list. It's more like changing how I see things,
Hmm.
looking at what I'm already doing in a different way.
Yeah, totally. It's not about doing more. It's about being more
Huh.
being more present, more intentional, more connected to ourselves and our kids.
And isn't that what we all want deep down? To
Yeah.
feel more connected, more like we have a purpose, more truly alive.
I think so. That's what made me want to take this course. You know, I was feeling kind of lost, like I was just going through the motions of parenting, stuck in the daily grind. I wanted to find a way to make our family life feel more meaningful, more joyful.
I think a lot of parents feel that way. It's so easy to get caught up in all the logistics, the chores, the errands. You forget to stop and appreciate the little things, the things that actually matter.
And those little moments are where the magic is, right? Those silly giggles during bedtime stories, those random dance parties in the living room, those quiet times when your kid just curls up and tells you about their day.
Those are the things that make it all worthwhile, right? The things that remind us why we do this whole parenting thing. They're like little sparks of joy.
I love that. And when we can be present for those moments, when we can appreciate them,
Mm.
parenting becomes something more. It's not just a chore, it's like a spiritual practice. It's about really experiencing each moment, the connection, the love.
You know, before this class, I always thought of my spiritual life and my parenting life as two separate things. But now I'm seeing how connected they are. It's like parenting is this constant opportunity to like tap into something deeper.
That's what this whole spiritual psychology thing is about, right? It's
That-
not about separating our lives into different boxes. It's about seeing how it's all woven together. It reminds us that everything we do, every moment, every challenge, it's all a chance to grow.
So even those moments that make you wonder if you're losing it, the meltdowns in the grocery store, the fights over brushing teeth, the insistence on wearing a superhero costume everywhere, those are chances to grow spiritually.
It might sound crazy, but yeah, those are the moments that really test us, you know? Our patience, our compassion, our ability to stay calm, even when we're frustrated. They're like little spiritual workouts pushing us to become more mindful, more resilient.
I like that. Spiritual workouts. It's like those tough moments are actually making us stronger.
Exactly. The more we practice, the better we get at handling those big feelings. It's like anything else, the more you do it, the stronger you get.
Okay, I'm on board with the spiritual workout plan. But what if I mess up? What if I lose my temper and yell? Does that mean I'm failing at this whole spiritual parenting thing?
Of course not. We're all human. We all make mistakes. The important thing is to be kind to yourself, to learn from those moments and just keep trying. Remember what Dr. Whiteley said. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is.
That's so helpful. It takes the pressure off, right? It's not about being some perfect Zen parent who never gets stressed. It's about showing up as you are, being open to learning and growing along with your kids. It's about embracing the messiness of it all.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this. We're all figuring this out together. We're all learning and supporting each other.
Well said. I think that's a perfect place to wrap things up. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into spiritual psychology and parenting. I hope you got as much out of it as I did.
It was my pleasure. Remember, this conversation is just the beginning. Keep exploring, keep growing, keep connecting.
And until next time, happy parenting, everyone.